Hull today, fullback Richard Gay. The right wing, Paul Eastwood. Rob Nolan, Richard Price are in the centres. Marcus Charles on the wing. Halfbacks, Greg Mackey and Phil Windley. And the forwards, Carl Harrison, Mike Dixon, Andy Dannett, Paul Wellham, Russ Walker and Lee Jackson, moving from hooker to loose forward late on in the proceedings, allowing Mike Dixon to go in at hooker. Substitutes, two new boys, 14 Brad Webb, the new Australian, and 15 Ian Marlowe, who a close season rugby union signing. Turning to the Castleford side, number 1, Steve Larder, an Australian from the Northern Territories. Right wing, St John Ellis, signing from York last season, who's made an impact in the First Division. 3, Sean Irwin. 4, Grant Anderson. 5, Giles Boothroyd. Halfbacks are Graham Stedman and Gary French. And the forwards, a second return to Hull for Lee Crooks. Sides take the field. Number 9, Graham Southernwood. 10, Keith England. 11, Neil Batty. 12, Jeff Hardy. 13, the evergreen John Joyner. And the substitutes today, 14, Ian Bragger. And 15, Dean Sampson. The referee for today's match is Mr. Jim Smith of Halifax. Hull have taken the field to a warm reception, and everyone here eagerly anticipating a marvellous season. One or two players out through injury from the Hull side. John Sharp has hamstring problem, Neil Turner the same, and Noel Cleal, who had a close season operation in Australia, not quite fit, though I'm told he'll be ready for the first league game of the season. And here come the opposition, led by John Joyner. And really a very formidable side. They ended last season in a very similar vein to Hull, with a run of good league victories which put them well up the table, and they eventually went out in the Premiership to Leeds. This is a game in which the two front rows are very, very high quality. It's going to be a tremendous battle there. It'll be interesting to see how Lee Crooks goes today. His first return to the Boulevard towards the end of last season was an unmitigated disaster in that he lasted only a few moments before being sent off for a high tackle. And Hull fans have not lost their affection for Lee Crooks. Still a very popular figure down here.
Your referee today, all the way from Halifax, Jim Smith.
One of the instructions that referees have had to take on board from Fred Lindop at the beginning of this season is to do something about the crooked feeding at scrums. It'll be very interesting to see how that initiative goes today. In the past, these sort of reinforcement of existing rules have tended in the end to come to nothing. What we don't want certainly are a whole series of scrum penalties to disrupt the flow of the game. Well, the conditions today very hot. It's really a summer's day, very little breeze, and late in the game I'm sure the players are going to feel it. So, with the background of the new Thrupney stand, Castleford about to kick off to the Gordon Street end, and Graham Stedman, one of the 3 tourists, kicks off, kicks deep. Ball taken by Marcus Charles, makes a few yards infield before being tackled. Just outside his own quarter. And Castleford caught offside early in the play. Jim Smith insisting on a tight 5 metres, and Paul Eastwood will kick for touch. Eastwood kicks into the new stand, and Hull will take the second penalty about 5 metres away from the halfway line. Carl Harrison on the burst. Makes good yards. Good 10. Mike Dixon at dummy half. And Castleford offside again. Very eager. And good to see the referee insisting on the two sides being well apart early in the game. Now this time Paul Eastwood feels that the kick is within his capabilities, so he's going to go for goal. The customary sand brought out. Ground conditions here today absolutely perfect. Very little breeze either for or against him. So a 36-yard kick to try and put Hull on the board. Good strike but wide, and Castleford will have the dropout from the 25-yard line. So first chance to put points on the board missed. A goal kicker likes to get early goals over to sharpen up his confidence. Dropout is long, taken by Richard Gay. Castleford chases up in number and a good tackle by French. Lee Jackson is at dummy half. Done it this time. Mike Dixon. Carl Harrison, the two props, very prominent, and Carl Harrison taking some stopping. Windley tries the short kick. Came off a Castleford player, but I think the referee is not going to restart the tackle count. The ball played the man rather than man the ball. Mackie kicks and finds touch well, just inside the Castleford 25. So let's have a close look at this scrum to see if Fred Lindop's edict is going to be honoured. Well, make your own mind up about that. Grant Anderson tackled by Richard Gay, and Greg Mackey is penalised for coming in late and having a little dig. So Studman to kick to the near side touchline. And Castleford take the second penalty now, about 10 yards inside their own half. England, very willing worker, and one of the successes, I think, of the summer tour to New Zealand. Lee Crooks taking 3 men to bring him down. Southernwood, Joyner. Long ball to Jeff Hardy. Playing in the second row, but acting there as an extra centre. And the referee now calling out Paul Eastwood. And penalises him for hand in the face of Jeff Hardy. Referee requesting a new ball. Studman makes limited progress with that kick. Southernwood restarts play. Here's England. Crooks driving hard. Tries the inside ball, but a little speculative. And perhaps early in the game, that's worth having a go at, but Castleford surrendered 4 tackles by that ball going out there, and it was never going to be an easy one to take. Hull have the ball coming out to about the 25, just inside it. Jackson. Windley kicks to the near side. The ball bounces well, but Lauder is back inside his 25 to cover. This Australian fullback runs the ball away well, but he's well tackled by Rob Nolan. Boothroyd goes infield. French. England hitting it up off second receiver. Crooks. Hull up very well and making the tackle. Richard Price and Greg Mackey. Studman. Richard Gay finds Charles on his inside. Charles runs across the field. Doesn't make too many yards forward though. Grant Anderson rather, covered him all the way across. Eastwood from acting halfback. Very keen, I know, to regain his Great Britain place, Paul Eastwood. Played in the tests in Papua New Guinea. Done it. Dixon is acting halfback. But Mackey knocks on and it's cleaned up by Jeff Hardy. French. Long ball to Crooks, inside to Stedman. Crooks at first man again, and this time goes on his own. Props off his right foot. Southernwood, England. Joyner throws the dummy, but not taken by the Hull defence. Good concentration. Southernwood. And the ball goes down to floor again. And the referee awards Hull the 6 tackles. So a game of handling errors at the moment. Done it this time. Already beginning that relentless driving which is characteristic of his play. This time Harrison. The ball on the floor again. This time Castleford have it. 6 tackles in a dangerous position. England takes it up. Southernwood. French. Hardy tackled man and ball by Carl Harrison. Southernwood takes it a little closer to the line. French. Joyner. Long ball, finds Crooks. And on his outside is Batty. And the ball bobbling around. The referee, in the end, awards the scrum. But certainly a little bit of danger there with John Joyner throwing out the long ball and Neil Batty on the outside of Lee Crooks. And we have a Castleford trainer on the field wishing to attend to a player who's already in the scrum. Penalty of that scrum to Hull. But the game hasn't really settled down into a discernible pattern yet. Pretty good kick by Eastwood. Hull will take this second penalty from the halfway line. Windley. And hitting the line very hard there, Russ Walker. But equally well met by the Castleford defence. Dunnett knocks off Southernwood. Jackson. Harrison takes it up. Jackson goes to the left this time, and as Windley kicks deep inside the Cas 25, and Larder plays the ball. And Jim Smith has awarded a penalty. Now, this is under the new ruling, I think, that chasing players in an offside position have to give the player who takes the ball now 10 metres in which to move before he can make the tackle. But Larder didn't look particularly comfortable with that kick at all. Turned and then fumbled the ball. Crooks brings it up. Met by Harrison. England almost breaks through. On the halfway line. Jeff Hardy this time, but a good tackle by Dixon. Southernwood away from acting halfback. French. No clean breaks so far in the game. Studman kicks. Gay regathers, brings the ball back from his own line. But the Castleford chasers up in a good line and make the tackle. Nolan goes across the field and tries to straighten up, makes a few yards. Harrison. And a ball out to Mackey, which Mackey juggles with and takes it. Here's Wellham on his inside. Now Mike Dixon, the best bit of football in the game so far. A break made by Carl Harrison, continued by Mackey. Good support work. Now Hull move it. All goes inside from Dannett to Dixon. Hull on the charge at the moment. Lee Jackson. Windley throws the dummy, but the ball eventually ends up in Castleford hands. And the pressure is relieved. And Anderson, the winger, does the work of the forward and brings it over from first receiver. Crooks now. England. And again, a rather risky pass, passing blind, and Lee Jackson almost alert enough to get in and take it. But Jackson spoils the good work done by laying on at the play of the ball, and the penalty is conceded. Studman with a quick tap. French ducking and weaving, but finding no way through. Joyner acting as the pivot, and a break made by Southernwood and supported by Jeff Hardy, and this is dangerous. Larder now finds wingman Ellis, an elusive figure, and Castleford replying like. Long ball from French to Crooks. A superb tackle. Paul Eastwood coming in, timing his tackle beautifully. Crooks now at first receiver, and this time no one taking a pretty obvious dummy. Joyner. Hardy, short ball, and England eventually with possession. And England goes a long way, but that's the sixth tackle, and Castleford failing to get the kick in there, and Hull come up with possession. Marcus Charles at acting halfback. Takes the ball himself, makes a few yards. Windley kicks again to this near side, but Larder this time rather makes a misjudgment of the ball. It bounces over his head, and this time the Hull chasers take him on the halfway line. Lee Crooks again, not lacking any appetite for work today. French, Southernwood on the run around, but that wasn't enough to cause any panic in the Hull defence. French dummies, goes on his own, dangerous play, a lot of acceleration off the standing start, Gary French. The kick to Charles. And Hull keeping the ball moving. Mackey. But Castleford drifting across and stopping any further progress. Russ Walker brings it away. Andy Dennett this time. Harrison again gets the ball away. Looking the most dangerous of the props on the field at the moment, Carl Harrison. Well, this time Mackey caught in possession, and in fact the ball's turned over and Castleford have it. Hardy out to Crooks, standing wide this time. It opens the gap up nicely. Stedman out to Anderson, and it looks like a try. A try indeed in the corner to Boothroyd, and the whole defence beautifully opened up by Lee Crooks, who's alternating, playing with first receiver and a little wider in the line. That time he stood wider, brought a runner on his outside, and despite the suspicion of a forward pass, Castleford in at the corner. Giles Boothroyd the try scorer. So 17th minute score. Play up to this point has been fairly even, but Hull paying the penalty there for losing the ball early in the tackle count in their own 25. Lee Crooks has been entrusted with the goal kicking. Drifts to the wide of the right-hand upright. So the score, Hull 0, Castleford 4. And really, so far, Hull have played some quite nice football, promising in the early tackles, but the ball has gone to floor too often. And Castleford, to some extent, guilty of the same error. Mackey, a long kick-off. And play about 15 yards from the Castleford line. Jeff Hardy at first receiver, bringing the ball up. Butty. And England this time. Stedman positioning himself for the clearing kick, but Suttonwood throws the dummy. But Hull don't respond to it. This time Stedman will kick. And the ball on this hard surface bounces past Richard Gay, who has to go back to retrieve it. Play now just inside the whole half. Mackey. Dennett this time. Jackson trying to make room by going across the field from acting halfback. Mackey puts a long kick down. Again, he's cleared Larder, but he's able to go back and retrieve. Pretty good chase by Hull. Harrison and Walker. Boothroyd. Crooks. This time he tries to pick Batty up, but the Hull tacklers read the situation well and brought him to ground. French kicks. And Gay again has to do a little bit of running back, but takes it pretty well. This time beats the first tackle. Jeff Hardy, one of the best chasers of the kick in the game, up there, but this time didn't make the tackle. Wellham. Richard Price makes 10 yards from acting halfback. Windley. But Windley and Mackey just struggling a little bit at the moment. And Hull not bringing their runners into play, a little bit flat-footed and a little bit flat as a whole. Dixon. Oh, the ball is moving around, but not to too much purpose. Now, Charles a little room. And gets the ball away again. Well, eventually about 10 yards made on that play, but the ball kept moving. But Hull lacking a little bit of pattern at the moment, and in that tackle, Dennett loses the ball. So again, Hull unable to put together a sequence of tackles in which they're going forward all the time and establishing a lot of pressure. Castleford win the scrum. Steadman out to Larder. Butty. Grant Anderson goes infield and using a run by England on the blind side as a decoy. Joyner at first receiver. Across the field and opens it up beautifully for Jeff Hardy, who's in the clear, throws an overhead pass to, and a try in the corner. A try in the corner to St. John Ellis. And the old maestro, John Joyner, using all his experience and guile, standing at first receiver, going across the field, again bringing the runner into play, Jeff Hardy, who timed his run beautifully, and centre and wingman did the rest. A good try to Castleford, and certainly at the moment worthy of the 8-0 lead. So Hull certainly struggling at the moment. Castleford buoyed up by this confident start. And Lee Crooks with a very tough conversion from the Thrupney stand side. And that drifts across the face of the post. So the score remains Hull 0, Castleford 8. And Hull will certainly have to establish much more of a territorial stranglehold on the game if they're going to get back into it. They've played far too much of it inside their own half. There have been signs of a bit of panic football with the ball being thrown around without any great pattern. And Castleford have been able to come up with the ball after Hull mistakes. And that's a good kick. The ball bouncing in the in-goal area and going out, so clearing Jeff Hardy's head, so that's going to be a drop out under the post to Castleford. So a chance now for Hull to have a clear 6 tackles inside the Castleford half. Let's see what they can do with it. Now here comes Walker. And play brought back to just outside the Castleford 25. Harrison has a charge at the Castleford defence, makes a few yards. Jackson works away from dummy half. Good play by Dixon and Jackson, the two combining well, close to the ruck. Dixon now. Oh, and this time Nolan fumbles. And once again, A little bit of promising play, and then the ball goes down. Looks like an injury to Castleford scrum half French. And the speed of the reactions of the players, though, it seems to be quite a serious one, perhaps. French taking some time to get to his feet, looks rather groggy, but is ready to put the ball into the scrum and still knows how to win it. Alert enough to make sure he won the ball. Castleford's turn to spill it this time. Now a chance for hold. Richard Gay steps nicely, still going. Windley, Carl Harrison. Dixon, Windley at first receiver. Mackey on the run around now. Brings in Richard Price, and Gay links up behind him. Well, clever play, but didn't go too far forward. Mackey. Done it. Will move the ball to the right, but switched inside. And the ball, rather unluckily, fumbled by Richard Price, who seemed to be half in the clear. Jeff Hardy brings the ball away and makes good yards. Irwin. Another one of the tourists from this summer's New Zealand and Papua New Guinea tour. Long ball from French. Crooks. French kicks. Richard Gay, well placed, takes it well. Has a little room to move. And Hull now with 5 tackles about 10 yards away from the halfway line. Lee Jackson takes 5. Windley, done it. He makes the halfway line. This time Carl Harrison makes the break. But the support not quite with him. And lack of attention at acting halfback. Mark Dixon has to rush in to clean up. Windley. Little kick over the top. That's how it bounces. Bounces well for Larder, who brings it away, but well met by Rob Nolan. Castleford playing the ball just outside their own 25. And Boothroyd again coming in from his wing to take the ball up. Crooks, a little chip over the top, covered by Windley, who throws the ball to Eastwood, and really the only result of that was a loss of 10 yards. Dixon. Oh, good brave customer. Another player with explosive pace from a standing start. Carl Harrison, certainly the pick of the whole forwards at the moment. And the ball away to Wellham. Suspicion perhaps of a forward pass, but play allowed to go on. Windley, Mackey. Ball comes out, picked up by Windley. Jeff Hardy, good marker defender, chases across and cuts off play. And the kick put in, it's played by Boothroyd. Chased by Nolan and Walker, make the tackle. This time Southernwood goes away from acting halfback. England allowed to turn in the tackle and offload, but Batty wrapped up. Studman gets his kick in, and it bounces past Charles, but he goes back to retrieve it. And the Castleford chasers up there in number, and they make the tackle. Windley kicks early in the tackle count, and Ladd are able to come onto the ball and runs it back. Lee Crooks alternating all the time between taking the ball up first or second receiver and standing wider trying to release runners. Joyner, Hardy. This time a ball out to winger Boothroyd, who's able to shake off a couple of tacklers there. The sixth tackle. French kicks. Charles has, and a knock-on is awarded against Charles, who struggled to get himself in place for that kick. A little indecisive, and the fumble is called a knock-on by the referee. Castleford make a substitution. Dean Sampson, freshly returned from a spell in Australia with the Gold Coast Giants, replaces Keith England.
The Castleford substitutions, Dean Sampson.
The ball loose from the scrum, and Castleford have to tidy up, but they've got a good position. Ellis coming in from their wing. Sampson straight into play. A forceful run. And Castleford have a fine position. Joyner, constant danger when he's in possession. Hardy. The last tackle. Anxious moments for Hull, these. But on that last tackle, Lee Crooks makes a simple mistake, and Hull have the turnover, so the pressure is taken off them a little bit, but they've still got to bring the ball away from their own 25. However, considerable assistance from Castleford in getting themselves offside at the play of the ball, and Hull should now be able to take the ball downfield some way. Hull take the second penalty on the halfway line. Harrison again. Mike Dixon finds a bit of room on the blind side. With half-time approaching, Hull could certainly do with a score. And a high tackle. A short ball from Greg Mackey finding Lee Jackson, running strongly, but taken by certainly a high one. The referee speaking to John Joyner. Lee Jackson certainly a little groggy. Now, Holmaker substitution. Marcus Charles brought off. He hasn't had a very happy time in this game, and he's replaced by Brad Webb. The Australian signed as the third import place Hull side, and this is his debut. I'm told he's very quick. We'll have to see. Hull now inside the Castleford 25. Lee Jackson out to Windley. Mackey brings Walker into run, and Walker makes the break, but not quite able to get the ball away. Dixon trying to work some room around the ruck to bring Lee Jackson up the middle. Now what Hull would give for a try now. Windley shows the ball and goes on his own. Still Hull move it. Done it. Mackey, but the Castleford defence able to slide across and stop the play. Windley chips through, but the ball taken fairly easily by Neil Batty, and Castleford relieve the pressure. Batty again. Lee Crooks working very hard. Steadman feigns to kick and then decides to run, but a very good tackle by Nolan. And that's the fifth tackle, and Castleford will have to manufacture a kick here. Larder kicks to Eastwood's wing, and Eastwood's got a bit of room to move. But that fine chaser Jeff Hardy was up there to restrict progress. Gay is tackled. Now Brad Webb, and he's tackled into touch, trying to go on to the outside of his man, but Ellis stuck with him. So Hull certainly struggling at this stage to sustain the pressure. Irwin from that scrum brings the ball up for Castleford. And Castleford would sensibly play for the half-time hooter, which is not far away now. Sampson. Crooks throws the dummy and gets the ball away, but a forward pass given. It was Jeff Hardy who came through, but the referee in a good position to call that decision. Now perhaps the last chance of the half for Hull. Jackson breaks from the scrum. Mackey has to juggle with the ball and keeps hold of it. Jackson scampers a few yards. Windley chips over, but well read by Steadman, and he's able to take the ball on the full. Very close to the half-time interval now, and Castleford sensibly playing through their 6 tackles. And the ball's got away beautifully from Southernwood to Hardy, who's in the clear, leaves Windley in his wake, and eventually is tackled by Brad Webb coming over from the far wing. But a dangerous position this, 6 tackle, Joyner moves it, What will Crooks do? Tries the kick, and a penalty awarded for offside. The ball canning off Hull feet and picked up in an offside position. So Castleford given a chance to extend their 8-point lead just before the interval. Lee Crooks unsuccessful with 2 previous attempts, but this is an easier kick than either of those 2. Just to the right of the posts. Straight through the middle and right on the half-time interval. Lee Crooks with a successful penalty extends Castleford's lead to 10 points to 0. And they can certainly be well satisfied with their performance. Hull, on the contrary, have struggled in this first half. It's a very early season, but they've not been able to sustain the pressure. They've lost far too much ball inside their own half and given Castleford clear sequences of 6 tackles. And although Castleford themselves have made a few errors, they have looked the more dangerous and incisive side. And certainly in John Joyner and Lee Crooks, they've had the handlers who've created the gaps and put runners through them. And it's significant that Crooks, very much involved in the first try, John Joyner in the second, the 2 old heads who opened up the gaps for players to go through. So, with Hull struggling a little bit at half-time in this Yorkshire Cup first-round tie, the score, Hull 0, Castleford 10. We'll be back for the second half shortly. Second half as Castleford take the field, looking understandably confident with a 10-0 lead at half-time. Jeff Hardy in picture, certainly one of the players whose performances in the first half have been very good quality. Chases kicks very well. He's got on to the end of some passes that have split defences, and a very difficult man to contain. Now here are Hull. It'll be interesting to see they change their pattern of play in the second half, but really one of the problems has been the inability to control the ball for 6 tackles, and until you can do that, it's difficult to sustain pressure or put into place tactical strategies. And a further change at half-time for Hull. Second row forward Paul Wellham has left the field and has been replaced by Ian Marlowe. Close season signing from the Beverley Rugby Union Club, who I believe hails originally from Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire. Jim Smith gets things underway, and Greg Mackey to kick off. Here's Ellis, and makes a few yards before being brought down. One other positional change that we've noticed at the start of the second half, that Brad Webb has gone into the centre and Rob Nolan has gone onto the left wing here. Richard Gay takes the ball cleanly. The Castleford chase is a pretty good one. Jackson finds Marlowe. Walker. Dunnett, who I thought started the game pretty well, but a little bit quiet in the second half of the first half. And Windley wrapped up again. He's not getting the ball away at the moment. And his kicking game hasn't come off today. And Mackey puts the ball into touch just inside the Castleford half. And the first scrum penalty of the game, I think. This time Gary French is penalised for feeding. And Hull will have a chance now to establish a position inside the Castleford 25. Eastwood to kick to touch to the near side. And Hull will take the tap just outside the Castleford 25. Richard Price. It's across the field, straightens up, makes a few yards. Play just inside the 25. Jackson, Windley. And Mackey brings Russ Walker on the side, but again the ball goes to ground. And the referee awards a penalty to Castleford. And that makes a long way downfield. And that's really driven Hull back to their own quarter. And here comes Sampson bringing the ball up. Crooks looking to hold the ball and slip it away, but his runner had gone through. Joyner, Batty. And Castleford certainly beginning to look a confident side. Long pass from French. Larder kicks over the top. And Eastwood takes the ball, but again, the referee insistent on this 10-metre rule. And Jeff Hardy is the man penalised this time in front of the kick when it was taken, not allowing Paul Eastwood the 10 yards once he'd taken the ball. Hull urgently need to get back into this game. Here's one of the men that might do it for them, Carl Harrison. Dunnett makes a few more yards, that's better. And Dixon a further little dart. Windley kicks again. But rather looking for the penalty perhaps there. Stedman kicks through. Now he's going to try and use his pace here. Eastwood takes the ball. But good thinking by Stedman. Nothing really lost because Hull have got to bring it away from their 25 again. Brad Webb is to his feet. Makes a few good yards. Windley runs with the ball himself this time. Jackson makes the break. Inside the Castleford half nearly. Mackey finds Gay on his inside. Richard Gay makes the break. Steps inside French, who half tackles him. 6 tackle though. What will Hull do? Crowd calling for a penalty. Mackey. But the ball disappointingly, agonizingly goes into touch. And perhaps some form of kick on that 6th tackle might have been advisable there. The Castleford defence had not really been drawn in, and there were plenty of men out on this wing, even if the ball had been well directed. Batty meets a good, solid tackle. This time Sampson. And a very good kick downfield. Finds touch inside the hole 25. And Richard Gay unable to do anything about that. In the end, letting the ball sensibly go into touch to ensure Hull's feed and head at the scrum. And this time it's Windley's turn to be penalised for feeding, and that gives Castleford an excellent position inside the hole 25. Sampson brings it up again. Crooks is a foil and brings Batty through on the drop-off. Castleford move the ball to the left. French takes the defence on himself. Good tackling by Walker and Windley. Joyner, Crooks, and an obstruction decision. Yeah. Lee Crooks again drifting into the line, looking to release a player into a gap, but that time using another player as a foil who stopped the whole tacklers coming across. So Hull restart play, and Marlowe brings the ball away just outside his own 25. Dunnett. Carl Harrison. Windley runs himself, tries the kick, and this time the penalty is won, and rather sillily disputed by Graham Steadman, who concedes a further 10 yards. So signs of a little bit more urgency and inventiveness about Hull's play, but they desperately need to establish pressure inside the Castleford quarter. Now Eastwood kicks to touch to the near side, the main stand. And here's a chance for Hull to really put some pressure on. Harrison times his run well. Dunnett, his partner, brings it up the second tackle. Walker. Right, the Castleford defence stops Windley getting up there, but he's still going. And this time Dunnett tries to get Marlowe away. And Hull in a good position with the tackle count running out. Windley, Mackey, puts the kick through. Chased by Richard Gay, but cleaned up by Larder. And the referee awarding penalty against Richard Gay, being in front of the kicker and making the tackle on Larder from an offside position. Oi, get down. Castleford just inside their own half. French to Crooks. Oh. Like another kick by Steadman, looking for this touchline. Again, he finds it, I think. No, the ball comes back in field. Richard Gay has to go back to his line to retrieve, so that really is as good as going into touch. Rob Nolan, a little bit of space, but well wrapped up by Grant Anderson. Brilliant marker play by Jeff Hardy. Spotted Brad Webb's intention of running from there and made the tackle look so easy. Mike Dixon. Lively bit of play. Windley again kicks. Well, that one to me looked like a clearer penalty than the last one. I certainly thought Windley was impeded that time. But at the end of it all, Castleford have got the tackles inside the whole half. Boothroyd brings it up. Gary French working a move, missing out players and picking up, eventually out to Ellis. Ellis takes on Marlowe, but a good tackle. Good covering, second row's tackle. Takes Ellis into touch. Now Castleford ringing the changes, and Lee Crooks coming from the field to be replaced by Keith England. It looks as if Coach Van der Veld is rotating his props. Show the workout. Richard Price. And Castleford caught offside over on the left. Certainly Hull been given the opportunity to have far more play in the second half inside the opposition's half, but a kick by Eastwood which doesn't gain too much in the way of yardage. So Walker brings it up, slips the ball away, but that's just typical of Hull's day. The ball goes to ground and picked up by Castleford again. Hardy finds a runner on his inside. It's Larder, the fullback. French. And Studman kicks to Eastwood's wing. It's a cruel bounce. It's two cruel bounces. Richard Gay spins out of a tackle, but Castleford chases up there in number and really nowhere to go. Richard Price taken with a rather high tackle. But Hull struggling to make this clean break. Carl Harrison this time. Here's one man who might do it. Certainly a good display today by Carl Harrison. Done it this time. Well picked up by Price. But again, the ball on the floor. And it's goes to Castleford. Stedman goes across the field looking for create space on the outside. This time England meets a very solid tackling wall. French tries the Phil Windley type kick, but that's well taken by Lee Jackson, who finds Richard Gay. Spins out of the first tackle, but Castleford keenly in there. And again offside. Brad Webb feels I think he was through, but I think the Castleford... Brad Webb, I think, thought a little bit hard done by there. He thought he'd made the break, but I felt Castleford had perhaps stopped with the penalty given. We've just received the score from Headingley, which appears that Bradford Northern have defeated Leeds by 24-16. Certainly a bit of a surprise there. Mike Dixon beats a couple of players. He's looked pretty good today. Windley finds Walker, but again the Castleford defence is really working very well. Harrison. The ball goes loose. And I think the referee is going to give a scrum in which Hull will have the feed. But these little close passes just not going to hand at the moment. And all the loose ball Castleford are falling on and taking. And it's very frustrating for the Hull players. Jackson detaches himself from the scrum. Now there's a move on. Richard Gay. Dunnett drives in. Lee Jackson tries the dummy, but no one bought it. We'll move to the left. Bringing in a second line of attack. That's better play. And Mackey releases Richard Price, who's taken a few yards from the line. Dunnett. The sixth tackle, though. And a penalty to Hull for Suttonwood going through the play of the ball before it was completed. A little bit of indecision, but no good doing things in haste at this stage. Harrison. The best position Hull have had in the game, this. Marlowe. Almost breaks the tackle. Right under the Castleford post now. Jackson. Thrown back from the line. But Mackey, in trying to put the play on there, lost possession. And a penalty now conceded. And a further penalty for talking back to the referee. So Holland doing a lot of good there. And it gives Castleford the chance to get the pressure back on. Well inside the whole half here. Sampson. Ball goes to floor. Oh, Windley. Oh, a shocking ball, really. And lucky to get away with that. It's back to one, but Windley, seeking to throw the long ball, telegraphed it, and it was almost intercepted by the Castleford player. Dunnett.
Get fucking over there!
Dixon. Mackey. And again, rather fortunate Hull perhaps to get the ball back there, but a clear 6 tackles again. Mike Dixon runs across field, but doesn't go very far forward. Mackey finds Walker on his outside. Done it, well tackled by England. Jackson. The ball thrown into no man's land. And Richard Price now fumbling. Hull really pretty untidy at the moment. Mackey throws a good ball back inside to Brad Webb, who's got a bit of open space. Kicks through, turns past Lauder, scores a brilliant try. Just what Hull needed. And out of nothing, in fact out of untidiness, Greg Mackey found some room on the outside. The ball came back inside to Brad Webb, and that's a try of individual brilliance. He made space for himself, he stepped through the Castleford defence, and as fullback Lauder came towards him, he kicked through and won the race for the ball, showing plenty of pace in so doing. Now that's given Hull a chance. And Eastwood adds the conversion. So the gap is reduced to 4 points. Hull 6, Castleford 10. And that might just be the spur that Hull need to come back into the game. I feel Castleford in this half have been content to play through, feeding off Hull's mistakes, using a kicking game, and Hull have struggled with the ball. But we're left with a situation now where there's only 4 points in it. Walker takes the ball under his own post. An extra spring in his step as he brings the ball back up. Much better. Harrison gets the ball to Walker. The ball pulled back, but Lee Jackson looks injured on the floor, and the Castleford player with him, Sampson. Could have been a collision of heads there. Certainly when Lee Jackson made contact there, the ball spilled out, and that looks like a pretty dangerous collision. We've got in the region of quarter of an hour to go, so there is time yet for Hull to win this game. And Lee Jackson was a victim of a high tackle in the first half, certainly in the wars today, but he's up on his feet and ready to continue. And again, I'm afraid the ball goes to ground. Richard Gay, the culprit this time. And at that scrum, Hull winning the ball, but the referee insisting on a re-scrum. This time Castleford win it. Stedman brings Irwin into play. A very good tackle by Mackey. Castleford in a good attacking position again. England. Sampson brought to ground. French, Crooks, and that short ball again, and Batty tries a pass too much, and it's fumbled by Boothroyd. But a good ball there would have meant an almost certain try. However, Neil Batty certainly threw a speculative one out there, and Boothroyd couldn't be blamed for fumbling. Hull win the ball from the scrum. We had Richard Gay. So all the way to Brad Webb. Now Richard Price. Nolan is inside. Lee Jackson drifting across from the scrum to back up. Certainly more enterprising football from Hull now. They see they're in with a chance. A penalty to Castleford conceded for holding down by Grant Anderson. Paul Eastwood gains good ground with that kick. Now, what can Hull do? Harrison takes it through. Done it now. Windley to Walker. Windley on the run around. Mackey. Oh, and again, the ball taken by a Castleford player. And England settles it down for Castleford. Steve Larder. Phil Castleford will play through their plays and look to kick Hull back into their own quarter, but Lee Crooks may have other ideas. He gets a lovely ball away to Anderson. And a good covering tackle by Mike Dixon. Stedman with the bomb. And a knock-on, clearly a knock-on. The referee just allowing play to go on to see if Hull could retake possession. So the scrum will go down about 15 yards from the Hull line. And Hull bring back Paul Wellham for Russ Walker. Mike Dixon almost in the clear, taken the last moment by Lee Crooks. Harrison. Done it. Lee Jackson. But the fifth tackle has come up. Mackey kicks towards Larder. It's taken by Ellis. Good tackle by Walker on Ellis, spotting his run across the field. This time it's Castleford's turn to look a little bit ragged and to struggle. And losing yards on that tackle. Lee Crooks tries the kick to the touchline, and it's a good one. Bounces in. Oh, no.
The substitution taking place now.
And Paul Wellham is eventually going to get on. For Russ Walker, who's had a pretty hard-working game. Taken the ball up well and tackled pretty solidly. Hull in possession. The time beginning to run out. Here's Marlowe. Mackey. Wellham caught in the inside pass, well tackled by Jeff Hardy. Dunnett throws the dummy and takes the ball himself. Windley. Finds Harrison, and the ball, rather fortunately perhaps, coming back to Hull. Marlowe. Now Windley, but didn't make good contact with that kick, and easily taken by the Castleford defence. Irwin, in fact, the man who caught the ball. Well, this time England, passing blind, has the ball intercepted by Jackson. And Dunnett caught with a very hard tackle by Dean Sampson there. Marlowe tries to take it up again. Windley. Mackey makes the break. Gayon is inside, but the Castleford defence alert enough to stop it. The fifth tackle. What can Hull manufacture? Some sort of kick, I would have thought. Well, the ball is thrown back into no man's land. Eventually taken by Richard Price, who tries a bit of a desperation kick. And it's taken by Lee Crooks. And that perhaps illustrating one of Hull's problems today. And a good break made by Greg Mackey, but from the subsequent plays, Hull unable to put much on. Sampson now has worked very hard since he's come on. And England this time doesn't attempt to release the ball. Yet again the kick by Stedman, a deep one. Richard Gay to go behind him to retrieve it. Spins out of a tackle. In fact makes a good 20 yards, 25 yards. Good reply by Richard Gay. Richard Price brings Nolan on the inside. And again, I'm afraid the ball goes down. That's been the story of the day. So much lost possession. So many fumbles. And Hull really have provided Castleford with a lot of their possession. Hull have certainly tackled a lot better in this second half, and Castleford really haven't made much in the way of breaks at all. French resorts to the bomb. It's a good one. But Hull come up with possession, but it's the wrong end of the field, really. Mike Dixon, who really does belie his small stature, bounces out of tackles. Tricky man to deal with. Richard Price brings it forward. At this time, in trying to get the ball back on the inside, Harrison puts the ball to Gay, who knocks on. Still, Hull have got to try these things now with time ticking away. Castleford in possession, French. French uses Southernwood as a ploy and goes on his own. And Castleford simply playing through the 6 tackles. Is the 5th a kick of some sort, no doubt? Again, the bomb. Oh, well taken by Windley, very well taken. But again, Hull 10 yards from their own line rather than near the Castleford line. Harrison coming forward again. Hull attempt to keep the ball moving. Good short ball from Bar Jackson to Dennett for the 6th tackle. Price kicks. The ball bounces well for Larder, who safely takes it just inside his own 25. Ellis will no doubt go from acting half-back and does. And Southernwood wriggles out of a tackle and Ellis takes the ball a little bit further. Again, Stedman kicks. And that's a fine kick. A fine kick that takes Hull back into their own 25 again. Well, one of the features of the game, I think, has been the assurance of Graham Stedman's kicking game. And though Castleford have not threatened too often to score a try in the second half, they have made sure that most of the players have been inside the whole half, and much of it inside the 25. No lack of effort from the Hull players, but now Windley makes the break. Now this could be the last chance. He's got Bradway with him. Couldn't find him. The Castleford players coming back in number. Mackie. Marlowe. Marlowe makes the break. Oh, but the ball is lost in the tackle. And a little bit of the rugby union background there, perhaps. And man of the match award has gone to Jeff Hardy, and I don't think anybody can complain about that. He's had a very fine game, both in attack and defence. But Hull certainly had half an opportunity there. Marlowe made good yardage, struggled through the tackles, but released the ball in the tackle. And that gives Castleford the clear 6 again. Fifth tackle's come up very quickly this time. Stedman again kicks towards Eastwood's wing. That's a huge kick. Richard Gay brings it back a few yards. The Castleford supporters calling for the final hooter. Now Richard Price. And there goes the final hooter, and Castleford have won this Yorkshire Cup first round tie by 10 points to 6. Certainly a improved performance from Hull in the second half, but overall far too many basic handling errors, too much easy possession surrendered to Castleford, who were able in the second half, I think, to sit on their lead a bit. They almost came unstuck by that, because Hull came back into the game, scored a fine try from Brad Webb, fine individualist try, and certainly from there on there were a couple of breaks. Hull have much more urgency and played with more spirit. It's largely a matter of confidence, I think, at this stage of the season. Castleford got the confidence in the first half, scored 2 good tries, one made by Joyner, the other made by Lee Crooks. And I think in the end you have to say that they thoroughly deserve this win. Hull, well, they've got a fortnight to regather now. They won't, of course, be in the second round of the Yorkshire Cup next weekend. And they have to work on the errors they've made today, sort out their pattern. No lack of effort. I thought individually, many players had fine games. Carl Harrison took the ball up very well, made a lot of yards. Andy Dannett worked hard. Russ Walker, a good solid game. And a very promising debut as substitute by Brad Webb. But there's a lot of work to do on pattern, I think, and of course of ensuring that Hull play through the full 6 tackles. Anyway, a disappointment for Hull fans, but a good and deserved win by Castleford. So a reminder of the final score: Hull 6, Castleford 10, with a reminder that the next game is at home to St Helens in the league. Fortnight today. It's goodbye from the Boulevard.